Hello everyone, welcome to the History from the Archives. As part of our continuing saga on the Magellan expedition, this episode will focus on one of the most important features of the expedition, the ship which earned great fame in history as being the only one that brought the survivors of the expedition to Spain after having journeyed throughout the world and circumnavigated the world. This ship is the eminent Victoria. While it is so famous in history, yet little is known about this. This episode will actually discuss whatever materials we have on the ship Victoria. Named after Santa Maria de la Victoria, the church in the sailors' district in 16th century Seville called Triana, located immediately on the bank of the Fulsam Guadalquivir River. The provenance of the ship remains one of the puzzles in the annals of the Magellan expedition. Was it brand new when it sailed for the Moluccas, or eventually the Philippines? Or was it an old vessel? Who owned it? These were the questions historians had been asking for the last 500 years, until few years ago, when a document was found by a Basque researcher named Fernando Aguirre Aramayo. A friend of mine, Julian Alonso, an author of a book on Sebastian del Cano and a consultant in one of the museums in Bilbao. The museum was devoted to showcasing the accomplishments of its famous son, the Basque region, Sebastian del Cano, gave me an important document which he told me this is still unknown to a lot of historians in the world, except apparently for the Basque who discovered this particular document. And this document actually talks about the origin of the ship Victoria. It not only talk about the origin, but it also tells us how this Victoria was acquired by the King of Spain. And this, according to the document, the ship Victoria was actually owned by a family. The father was named Domingo de Apalua, a ship pilot, and his son, Pedro de Aresminde, both residents of Ondarrua, a coastal town in the province of Vizcaya in the Basque region, very, very near the birthplace of Sebastian del Cano in Guetaria. According to this notarial document, the ship had been used for some time between London and Castile, apparently as a cargo ship, bringing this merchandise from Spain to London and from London to Spain. For reasons unknown, the officials of the Casa de Contratación de las Indias, which is the trading house of Spain, just like our sort of a stock market, sent a representative to Ondarrua and negotiated for its sale. One possible source of information, the one who probably told the king and the officials of the Casa de Contratación that there are certain ships there that could be used later on in the expedition, could be, as some people suspected, could be no other than Sebastian Elcano, because Sebastian Elcano was actually, as I said, a resident at Guetaria, and Guetaria was also another coastal town located in this Bay of Vizcaya, in the Bay of Biscay, and it's very, very near the town of Sebastian del Cano. And Sebastian del Cano had been sailing for some time, and probably it was him who informed the officials of the Casa de Contratación of these ships that are available in his neighboring town. So they said that the ship Victoria was probably, or still earlier on it was simply called Santa Maria, was probably built either in this place in Ondarrua or they also say that it could have been built in another nearby town of Saraut. Saraut is very, very close to the birthplace of Sebastian del Cano, which is Guitaria. Acquired by the royal representatives at 800 ducats in gold, or approximately 300,000 maravides, an amount the owners grudgingly accepted. And they said that the payment is not enough. The amount of 300,000 maravides is not sufficient, because they said it's still very, very low. And so, according to the document, they sold it against their will. But then, because it is the king that was buying the ship, so they could not do anything but to sell it according to that price, despite the fact that it's actually low. The Victoria, putting it in the context of the 5 ships of the expedition, Victoria was believed to be the second most expensive among the 5 ships, the San Antonio being the most expensive and the largest. The Portuguese consul of Seville, Sebastian Alvarez, he was supposedly a consul, but actually spying on the development of the expedition. Remember that Magellan was a renegade, shifted his allegiance to Spain. So they were not very happy with what Magellan did, and so they sent spies, and was trying to see what would happen to the expedition. Will it succeed or will it fail? And of course, the Portuguese were praying that it would fail, because it would be an embarrassment to Portugal if it succeed. But anyway, he was spying on the progress of the expedition, and he reported on 18 July 1519 to King Manuel, the king of Portugal at the time, and this is what he wrote. He says, "The ships of Magellan's fleet, sire, are 5. They are very old and patched up, for I saw them when they were beached for repairs. It is 11 months since they were repaired, and they are now afloat, and they are caulking them in the water. I went on board of them a few times, and I assure your highness that I should be ill-inclined to sail in them to the Canaries, because their knees are of touchwood." So in a way, the Portuguese were happy that's not going to succeed because of this very, very, very poor condition of the ships. However, on September 8, 1522, the Victoria was the only one which brought home to Seville the 18 weakened survivors of the Magellan expedition. Of course, the record says 18, but we don't really know the exact number, because as I said, there were probably prisoners who were actually sent to the expedition, and they were not listed at all. And this ship, of course, Victoria, was the one that circumnavigated the world. Upon arrival to the dock of the Muelas, the Victoria remained for several months in Guadalquivir. So there's a river there at the heart of the city of Seville called Guadalquivir. And for some time after the return, it was there, and nobody apparently recognized the value of the ship. So the king eventually decided to sell the Victoria. Under the guidance or the management of Cristobal de Haro, one of the officers of the Casa de Contratación, it was placed on public bidding. And on February 16, 1523, 5 months after it arrived, one of the Italian, Genoese, by the name of Esteban Centurion, offered to buy the ship for 150 ducats. And 2 days after, of course, it was not accepted because it was very, very low. 2 days after, another round of public bidding was held. And this time, there were actually 3 who put up the bid. A certain man by the name Juan de Palma, Juan Cardenas, and the previous bidder, Esteban Centurion, who apparently realizing that the amount that he offered was not enough, and of course it was turned down, he raised it to 220 ducats. Again, the proposed bid was not accepted, but a much higher bid was placed at 250. Again, it was not accepted. So 10 days after the first bidding, another bidding was raised, was made, And this time, Centurion finally got the ship at 285 ducats. So 285 ducats. Earlier on, it was bought at 300, at 800. Now you have 285. Okay? And what happened to the ship after that? 2 years later, the owner, Centurion, passed away, and the daughter got hold of this, young at the time. So, but apparently they realized that they can still make use of the ship. So the ship was used as a transport passenger vessel to South America. So it went to South America, landed in Santo Domingo, returned again, and then made another trip. On its second trip, while going back to Spain, it suffered a shipwreck. And there ended the magnificent Victoria ship had a tragic end. All the crew perished when it went down. That's how the Victoria made its exit from world history. Thank you for watching this episode. I hope this provides you basic information about the Santa Maria de la Victoria ship of the Magellan expedition. For your questions, you may write it down on the comment section, which will be answered in our next episode as we journey in our history from the archives.